All right, everybody, thank you for coming. We are here at Talents Unlimited. We meet every Wednesday night at 9 o'clock. Tonight's topic is going to be AI. Robert, sir, take it away and tell us what you think about AI in the field in general.
AIAIO. Oh, that's a different song. Have you ever noticed, everybody, have you ever noticed that every business, every industry is now promoting AI? You go to an insurance company, your rates may be on AI. If you want to buy a house, the realtor has access to AI to help you buy that house. If you want to go to go buy some toothpaste, there's AI to help you figure that out too. When ChatGPT first came out, I recall one of the biggest challenges or the biggest questions was how students were going to use AI for their curriculums. How were they going to use it for their studies? I mean, it could create essays. Carolyn, do you have an example of an AI that all of a sudden just popped up that you might be interested or a question?
No, I don't have any AI that I particularly interested in. I Chat GPT is good. I have created some speeches. I've created some, like I did a rhyme like the night before the NFL, towards the night before Christmas. I used Chat GPT to create that. The one thing that I can say about AI, and this is kind of like in a negative form because the movie industry wants to use some people's images and create them and use AI instead of using the actor itself. So there is a big thing going on in Hollywood about AI. So when they sign a contract, they have to put in there that their image cannot be used through AI. So that's some of the things I know about AI.
Mm-hmm. And Jim, where does this AI come from? I mean, what is it based on? You have any thoughts on that?
Well, the concept of AI is to allow machines to think. That's the thought process behind it, right? So it's considered to be artificial intelligence, where you give a base set of information, and then from that information, it extrapolates new information. Right? So the machine is thinking. The problem with AI when you try to match it to humans is that there's going to be a disconnect because AI in machines is based solely on information. So it's based solely on thought processing, and it doesn't have emotion. So if you think way back to the Star Trek times where you have the Spock without emotion, you had the what was that what was that other one's name? The computer
Oh,
machine.
Data?
Yeah, Data. Right. He had no emotion. Right. It is just a bunch of facts. Right. So humans think through logic, but act through emotion. So every decision a human makes is always based on an emotion of what makes them feel good based on the information they have at that moment.
Mm-hmm. I, do you think it's possible that AI could, I don't want to use the word comprehend because when you use words, sometimes there's emotion in those words. You have an adjective, an action word. Do you think there could be emotion that AI could possibly learn?
That's the goal that everyone's trying to do, but as of right now, there's no way to program emotion.
Mhm.
We Everything that we know of so far is instructional logic based. Now with the quantum computing, that might be a little bit different, right? So Whereas now we're using ones and zeros, quantum uses ones, zeros, and everything in between.
Mhm.
So there might be some new stuff in there that they can try to use if they can figure it out. But so far, they haven't been able to do it. Everything is based simply on logic.
What about, well, when AI first came out, as we know it today, I noticed that Microsoft, as an example, when you use Copilot, perhaps, or is it ChatGPT? Because, as you know, Microsoft invested or purchased ChatGPT.
Yep.
And I noticed that when you decide, before you do your search, you are given 3 options. And when I looked at these options, I'm thinking, why would you want something that is not more accurate? They give you 3 options. More accurate being, well, accurate, factual. And then you have, I would say, more open-minded type of responses. And I'm kind of wondering, why would you want to use more open mind responses on a topic if you're trying to get the facts? I mean, what's the reason for intelligence?
You want to think outside the box. There's more than one way to skin a cat, right? So, well, there's multiple ways. So if you want to sit there and ask just the facts, ma'am, you're just gonna have to be like Sergeant Friday and sit there and take certain things in a certain order and come to a certain conclusion.
Mhm.
So if you are in a black and white world, then I guess that's okay. But what about the grays? Right. So if you want to see the grays, then you need a more open-minded area, right? Because you want to see some of the other stuff that exists.
Yes. Yeah. I guess I can understand that. Google has Gemini. It's Gemini AI. They have different versions where it's now part of your phone. It's built into the Android operating system, I believe. And within about a couple months ago, maybe as long as 3 months ago, they got caught. I didn't know if you heard about this, but Google Gemini AI from Google was capable of generating pictures. So all you had to say was generate a picture of individuals eating pizza, and it would generate the pizza. I mean, the picture. And then you have individuals. What I like about it is people challenge AI. And there were instances where they said generate Nazi Germany, Nazi Germans. And the photos that were coming up were like way out of whack. And this is manipulation. This just proves that you can manipulate it, where they had Asian Nazis, a black Nazi, and whatever kind of other kind of Nazi, Jewish Nazi. And people were calling them out. And within days, within hours, basically, they were pulled. That portion of AI was pulled to where it wasn't generating any pictures whatsoever. So even in the Nazi generation, picture generation, they even had women in Nazi, soldier uniforms. So it was like, where does this come up? I mean, is there, how does this mindset into AI, or where does this influence come from? I hear what you're saying about information already being out there, but what do you think?
You asking me?
Yeah.
AI is only going to show you what's programmed, right? So if it's programmed that any human can be in a picture, then they just decide to plop in whatever human is there. It's
Mhm.
randomly picked and stuck in there.
So I I hope you're in Texas, Carolyn, because I'm going to ask you because gambling's, I think, a bookie is illegal in California, but we're going to assume you're in Texas or Vegas. Do you is there any influence of AI in your pick sixes as an example for football? If you were to bet,
You're
yeah,
muted.
mute.
I don't know because I don't really bet on sports, so I'm not sure how that goes. I do have a lot of pop-ups like FanDuel and a lot of stuff that go on during the season. So I don't know. You could ask Otani that plays for the whoever he plays for, who's in trouble for gambling on baseball. Not him, but his interpreter.
Hmm.
So I really haven't done any research on that because, you know, I wouldn't call it cheating, but it is kind of like cheating. It's like counting cards, if you're playing a game, if you're a card counter, it's kind of like cheating. So I would say
There's
it would
nothing
be,
illegal about counting cards if you're doing it in your head.
you're right, if you're doing it in your head and nobody is helping you. So
Imagine, imagine during the Super Bowl, because I believe this comes up in every Super Bowl. What do you have where you're buying squares, right?
you talking about what they call it?
The the
I
score.
can No, when you're buying the squares, it's like a
Yeah,
a, a
it's the
game.
score.
Okay.
It's the score during the quarter, the end of the quarter.
No,
So
but that's not what they call a game, though. What do they call a game? When you're playing, I can't think of it. I
I
played it. Where you buy a square, you say you pick a square and you don't know if your square is gonna hit or not. So
mhm, mhm.
I can't think of it. I can't think of the name of it.
But just think, you have a multitude of squares, and let's say it's
Yeah,
25 bucks.
it's just a Super Bowl pool. That's all it is.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah,
pool.
it's a pot.
Okay.
It's kind of like a pot. But the thing
Yeah.
about it is the game would have to be fixed in order for AI to know what the score is gonna be.
No,
Because
if AI is going to do the predictions, and you have to fit in information, right? So the AI would need to know who the players are on each team, how they compare to the other players, what their stats are, how they compare those stats to the other team's stats. And then based on the information that it has, it'll tell you who's gonna win. And it can generate a score for you based on what it knows, on how well the team. But you have to plug in information, right? You have to give it history. You can't just do it in
right, you have to
one
give
game. One game isn't enough, right? You have to give it history so that it can sit there and see the history and calculate it and say, based on the odds, this is what it's gonna be.
I see your
right.
point, Jim. Think of
And you
it
can
this way. Go ahead, Carolyn. I'm sorry.
I say you could do that, but on any given Sunday, a person can play well or they couldn't. They could get hurt. They can plug in all the information you want. If they get hurt, then
If they get hurt during the game, you plug it in and it changes, right? The
oh,
results
during the
change.
game.
In the past, you would have the odds, right? Of who's going to win by how many points. Now you have AI, and you have a coach. You have an offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, and you would just kept plugging in all of this data on what plays are called to what player at any given point, or you're measuring all of this. What plays are called, who normally receives who is the prime receiver as an example when you have this type of formation. You see
Yep.
what I'm getting at? So,
Yep.
so now, you know, you have AI figuring this out. I mean, I could see it happening pretty darn good. I'll give you an early example of AI in baseball. There is a movie, what is it called? I forgot, but it was with the Oakland Athletics. And this individual, he just kept stats and stats and stats of all of these players in baseball. And the Oakland A's were making trades for specific players who may not been superstars, but they were superstars or of an exceptional talent for a specific situation.
That sounds like Moneyball.
That's exactly what it is. Moneyball. Exactly what it is. Where they would trade for these players, and when a certain situation came up, they increased their odds based on a human version of AI to you know, optimize their chances of success.
Sure.
And I believe that same person who did this, he went to the Boston Red Sox. And then they paid him all kinds of money. He went to the Boston Red Sox, and all of a sudden they're starting to win all these World Series. So. But there's a multitude of reasons or examples how AI can be used for students. It can generate thoughts. So if you just put out say, I want an outline of, let's say, an essay as an example. It's not going to give you the data, but it'll at least give you some areas where you need to build from. You know, so I can see that happening. I don't know if it
I
actually.
think AI is going to make a lot of people lazy. But if it's used properly, it could be very incentivizing. Because you can find out a lot of new information that you didn't know existed based on what's out there.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're a researcher, it could be worth something to you.
Mm-hmm.
If you're trying to create something, it's probably not worth much because whatever you're creating is not original thought.
Agreed. You just, as you mentioned earlier on, you just bring it in that information that was already published, if you will, or already documented somewhere out there.
Yeah, it has to be documented, right? There's no way for AI to know it if it's not documented.
Mm-hmm. And I believe that Google has a significant advantage because of their access to, you know, the internet, period. You know, I'm not going to say they built the internet, but having that browser and all of that in the search engine, having all that searches and grabbing all that data from their maps, having all their data from emails that were, you know, they don't actually monitor an email account, but they monitor the words in it to build structure and responses and things like that. I can't even, I noticed that because I have an Android that you could, it's called Smart Compose. So when you receive a text message, I can get a Smart Compose with an answer already there before, without any thought. I mean, if it makes sense. If it's
Yeah, but
applicable.
that's gonna make people lazy, right? Because
Yeah.
like you said, without any thought. So if you're responding to something without any thought, you're in trouble.
Yeah. Exactly. So, ladies and gentlemen, what are your thoughts about AI? How can AI be used in a positive way, and how can it be used negatively? There are many examples we are hearing in the news where AI is causing bedlam in a lot of negative ways, and good uses the AI, such as in the medical industry. So we here at Talents Unlimited, we are unafraid. We're not even intimidated from AI. It may not be artificial, but we're giving it one heck of a try of being intelligent. So we here at Talents Unlimited are unafraid. We challenge each and every one of you. We challenge each other. And more importantly, we challenge ourselves to be able to use this public speaking forum to practice every week, Wednesday, 7 p.m. And we invite you to join the conversation and be part of that intelligence without the A here at Talents Unlimited. So I want to thank our Talents Unlimited club members. And for those of you out there in AI land, we invite you to come and join us and be part of the discussion every Wednesday. I bid you good night.